the conductor of the train, your boy, DJ SJ614, and we are
the New York Dose.
And on today's episode with us, we have the beautiful, lovely...
What's up, y'all? I'm Elle. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
Yeah.
I'm originally from Flatbush.
Okay.
So we out here, you feel me? So I'm a person who took all of my artistic and creative abilities and just threw them together and decided to figure it out.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let them know.
So we're going to get into the last section of our show. This is the subway. Now, the segments in this section correlate with a few of the train lines that we have here in the New York City MTA subway system. Finally, addressing the dose of the day. First, we try to recall how things involving the topic were handled in the past. Next, we analyze how it's going down today. Then we ride the rest of the subway before debriefing at last and figuring out possible solutions on how to make things better, either in our personal lives or within the world. So, the dose of the day is selective morality and scheduled outrage. Okay? Now, this is a deep one. This is a deep one.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we have to address exactly what selective morality and scheduled outrage is, right? So, from all the things that I was reading, I put together my own little definition because it's not really like a real thing for it yet, I guess. And feel free to please chime in with your thoughts on what this might mean or whatever. But what I put together is selective morality is basically passing judgment on one person for an unfavorable act while not passing the same judgment, or in our lingo, keeping that same energy towards someone else for committing a similar act. Okay? Selective morality. Now for scheduled outrage, I put that together to be a distraction of viral rage that coincides when something else bigger is happening in the world. Can we agree? Do we disagree? Do we... Yes.
All right.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
excellent. So now that we have defined those terms, let's hop on the R train. This is recall. So what I want to ask is, how do we think that selective morality and scheduled outrage was handled in the past, in our past, or while we were growing up, or what do we think those things were called? And I'll jumpstart us off by saying that I feel like, let's first address selective morality. I feel like back in the day, the term for selective morality was basically hypocrisy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just wasn't
That's it.
spoken about. It was just what it was.
Yep, flat out, just you being a hypocrite right
Yeah.
now. And I think that also helps and fuel our a deeper definition of what it exactly might mean here today for us. So I'm glad that we all agree on that. Now, this one's a little bit more tricky. What about for scheduled outrage? What do we attribute that to equating to in the past?
That's just a distraction.
Yeah.
Pretty simply, if you think about, if you see somebody walking down the street and you're with your homegirl and your homegirl used to date that person and you like, girl, hold on, look at me, let's have a conversation real quick. It's the same type of thing.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Wait, what do you mean it's the same type of thing in that term?
In terms of turning yourself or whatever the scheduled morality is it? No, sorry, scheduled outrage. Yes. Turning that into the distraction point to take you away from what will actually affect you.
Exactly.
So the best friend seeing the ex-boyfriend is what will actually affect her. Whereas her looking at you, you're like, let me distract you so you don't feel.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Absolutely. I dig that. Okay, so let's transfer over to the A train and analyze how it is affecting us today, or how have those terms progress into selective morality and scheduled outrage. So I have a couple of examples that I want to go over with us, right? Now, in the case of selective morality, I want to use the moment when Cardi B came out and basically said that she used to drug and rob men when she for money when she was stripping. And during that time, people were, equating her to Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. The hashtag was surviving Cardi B because the surviving R. Kelly thing was out there. And I want to ask us, how is or is this not an example of selective morality? And I'll let you ladies start first.
That's tricky.
So, I'm gonna say this.
Mhm.
These are two very, very, very different situations, right?
Mhm.
The life of a stripper, mind you, I've never been one. I know a few, and it's not necessarily the safest. You know, like these are men. Like let's really think about it. These are grown men, and as you know, men do things that will, you know, harm us. And in that profession, when your job is literally sex work, sometimes they don't know when to stop. A lot of the times they end up going too far. So I take that to be a safety precaution. Cardi B is not the first stripper to drug someone, and I don't think she'll be the last. It boils down to safety in my mind.
Okay, all right. What about you, Adaloso?
I kind of think that too, but then of course then there's the half of me that is just like, why does it have to get? Because I feel like I would just think like, what if this really could have like, is it worth having a possible like murder on your hands or like the money? You know, because it's a real possibility. Like you don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. He could be allergic to something, and then he can like. That's the things that I could be thinking about.
That's fair.
So, because I'm just like, I understand like it could be probably for safety and that the culture. Like I don't know, I'm not a part of it, but I can see it being like a normal thing. You know, just like they like you know back in the 80s, whatever, or like the Bill Cosby times where it was normal for people to like to do all of that. So. I don't know, I'm torn in like what you're saying, but then I'm just like, but
I feel
that's
you.
still like you really OD. Like, is it that serious? Like, you know?
That's the thing. It is, right? So it's not is he gonna die versus the money? It's is he finna die or am I finna die?
Right.
Because if you think about it, there have been so many situations and so many cases of strippers leaving the club after they've had a conversation with a dude, after they danced on a dude,
I'm sure,
and they get murked.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So it's like you hear all of these stories and you see all of these things and you see your friends going through all of these kinds of things and you're like, all right, this is my livelihood.
Right.
I have to protect myself while I'm at work.
Right.
I want to flip this and talk about it as if, what if it was the circumstance where Cardi B was drugged and robbed by a man that she was engaging in a sex work act with, but like she was the one that like hired him. What is your opinion on that?
Mine is still the same.
Still the same.
And I think that she would respect it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Period. What about you, Adaloso?
I think like that's just it just sounds more heavier to me, and like I don't know how to explain it. Like I can see where it could be like the same type of like feeling towards it, but I just still like why like I feel like you're still risking my life. Like if you I don't know, but then it's like I don't know that. Like I'm not in those shoes, and I don't know like what could really go down. Like I've seen, you know,
the movies, the media.
Maybe like I have one stripper friend, but she's like young. Like you know, it's not like. So it's just like I just feel like I don't know. I mean, depends on the drug too, right? Like what type of drugs?
I'm not
I'm thinking like
people now.
I'm like which one is it? Like
what do we think about the fact that people were hashtagging surviving Cardi B and equating it to what Bill Cosby was doing?
No, corny and are comparing it to R. Kelly.
Oh, sorry, R. Kelly.
Yeah, like that.
I mean, but they were also comparing her. They just did the combo. They just comboed her. Corny. Okay. Now, I want to examine. So, Addie, when I did the reverse situation where it was a man drugging and robbing her, you said that you were like a little conflicted. You said that your opinion was still the same, that it's a safety thing, right? So my question is, why do we think that those, when it comes on the other end, or when it comes to the other sex, the viral argument was that, I feel like, you know, like in this room, we have a little bit, you know, clearer head on it, but virally, what we were seeing was the fact that there were a lot of women that were basically defending Cardi B's actions and there were a lot of men that were basically like, nah, like if this was flipped around, y'all would have not had any type of respect for this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So do y'all think that they were really asking that question, or was it straight man's pettiness?
I think it was straight man's pettiness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really asking the question. I want us to really dive deep into that, but in that scenario, I think it was half and half, because there was a lot of straight men that were basically just like, yeah, finally we got one, like y'all fuck, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There was a lot of that, and then there was a lot of the genuine concerns, right? Mm-hmm. But for us, in the terms of selective morality, I want to really dive into why is that a problem? You know, like where is the selectiveness coming in within that, and why is it coming about?
Okay, so firstly, that starts with conditioning in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. So from young, especially as women, we are taught to be very careful.
Right.
We're taught to be very vigilant about the men around us. We're taught to be very vigilant in clubs, bars, etc., etc. We're taught from young, men will rape, be careful. Men will rape, be careful. Yep. So in this situation, when we have all of those years of conditioning in us, and we hear, okay, Cardi is protecting herself, then that's okay, cool. Then we hear someone's doing the same thing. It doesn't feel like protection. It feels like an attack, because that's what we've been conditioned to feel.
Okay. So it's a conditioning. I can totally see that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, because I was like, I could have easily agreed with you, but I felt like, you know, one, it's the New York though, but you know, you say what's really is feeling, and I wanted to also question myself to be like, I don't know why I felt so different when it was like when he told me like a man.
Right.
But also I think when it comes with that, like the protecting of yourself, just like, if you, like, I feel like if a girl, like, drugs, like, she's just getting the money and she's bouncing, I feel like there's a higher risk, because you were talking about how, like, some men don't know how to stop, or they feel like this power, this ego, like, yeah, they'll drug you and rob you, but then probably do some extra shit, too, like, not saying all, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's a higher risk in that. I feel like the girls, that they know, like, they stick to, like, what the mission is. Like, we can turn it on and off.
Elle, do you feel that, so within this culture, right, you're saying that this is a thing that happens, period, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel that it might have gone a little too far with it being a preemptive strike? Because we and correct me if I'm wrong, but within this story, we didn't hear that, you know, like, she's ever been attacked first, right? Yeah. We just heard that this is something that she's done first to men, right? Right. So if she has, should we fault her for it not happening to her yet? Should we expect her to wait around and get attacked first, and then learn a lesson, and then start defending herself and protecting herself? Or you know, should we fault her for taking this preemptive strike with that not even happening yet?
Well, I don't even think this is a preemptive strike, right? Like, I don't think that this is a situation to where she maliciously thought, yo, I'm about to give me a bankroll off of this dude. What I'm thinking is, you know, working in a strip club for a long time, you see girls come and go. Right. You hear stories. You have a family to get home to. And you know that you may not be able to get home to that family if you're not taking cautions. It's the same way how if I have a daughter, I'm going to tell her, you know, even though it doesn't matter the amount of clothes you have on when you're getting raped and in situations like that, I'm going to tell her, you know, if you're going to a certain party that you know certain people are going to be around and they're watching you a certain way, be careful what you're wearing, be careful what you're putting in your system, be careful about how you're acting. Right. And those are just preemptive safety measures. I don't know how this person is going to react regardless. I don't know if I'm going to get raped regardless, right? However, what I do know is I've put everything in place that I possibly could to make sure that I'm not putting myself in that position. Right.
I see. I definitely see that. I do see that. I do. Adaloso thoughts?
I'm taking all that in.
Okay. I like that.
I agree.
Yeah, I like where this is going. I want to give us another example. The N word, the word nigger. So just let it hit a little bit closer to home. Now the idea is that this word represents oppression against a certain group of people, our people, and it has dark ties within American history, etc., etc. Right? So you would think that the goal would be to abolish this word completely, which is the goal of some of our people, right? Some of our people don't want that word being used at all whatsoever. However, there are those of us that use it in everyday life and only get upset when we hear it being used by people from outside of our race. So you have these two dichotomies. Now, is this selective morality? Why should any of us be using it in the first place? Do you feel like we are picking and choosing when to be angered by this word?
Yes and no.
Okay. Let's hear Adaloso. What's up?
Yeah, it is selective morality because I struggle with that too. Like, because they say like Latinos shouldn't say it like either. I mean, I grew up saying it because it was around me. Like it was in school. Like we just said it like play. But I think as I gotten older, like you start hearing people calling you out a little bit, like giving you more information on it and like what they really like to bring out. But I think it's definitely selective morality because we are so quick to be like, what you said, like when that person that's out of our color is about to or singing a song or we ready, we on the edge of our seat, but we hear like
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's just like it's hard, it's tricky because it's like, but then it's like, are we conditioned in this too?
So yes. Is it selective morality? The reason why I said yes and no is because to your point, yes, we do have the black people can say it, nobody else can say it. The problem with that is black is such a spectrum.
Yes.
Right? That I remember I walked into a corner store by my house recently and some Arabic dude said it. And I had to look at my man and I was like, yo, can he say it? And he was like, that's a good question. So then we started like delving into like, if you're North African, do you get to say it? Like if you're East African, do you get to say it? Like different regions of the world, were you affected by it and do you get to say it? Now, here's why I don't think we should completely want to abolish the word. That gives it too much power. That gives it entirely too much power. Because already by us saying, white people, you can't say this word, they're already like, nigga.
Right.
Like it's already something to where you tell a child they can't do it, they gonna go for the cookie jar.
Yep.
And with us, first of all, we don't necessarily all know the origins of that word. Right. Let me put my tea down.
Come on now. Put it down. Put it down.
So Negus.
Yes, Camigas. Come on, take it back. Yes, hello.
Kings, queens. Let's be real about it. We all come from royalty.
Yep.
We all come from a land beyond this one. And that word was turned and used against us and things of that nature. In my opinion, the best thing for us to do is just to take that shit back. There's only so much power in what we put the power into. And just remember that the world follows black culture.
Yes.
The world watches us. The world sees what we do. As soon as we tell them that this is how shit is gonna go, although it may not look like they're following our lead, they are.
They're following.
So
I completely agree with you 100%. I want to know, with your idea, because that's my same thought too, right? Not giving it too much power, taking it back, blah, 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 putting love into that word and using it in our communities, blah, blah, blah. On that same token, though, what does that do to our morale when other cultures or other races also start using it out of love. And you know what I'm saying? What if it doesn't? It's not a thing of malice or hate anymore. They're not like nigga. It's like, oh, what up, my nigga? Coming from Becky that lives in Dumbo Heights.
Right.
Then what? Then what does that do to our morale now?
Well, so in my opinion, in the same way that we have to look across the spectrum of blackness, we're gonna look on the spectrum of whiteness for 1 second.
I'm here for the yes.
Because period, point blank, 150 years ago, Lil White Becky, who's walking through Dumbo Heights right now, her great granddaddy was responsible for the enslavement of many of my people.
Come on now.
And there is no way in anybody's hell that anybody who is associated with that by lineage can say that word out of love.
Yes.
It's just a fact. You cannot erase 600, 700, 800 years, 1,000 years of pure degradation.
Yes.
Of literally disseminating an entire culture of people, burning down libraries, taking over lands, colonizing the entire world, and you're going to tell me that you're going to use a word that was used through so much hate throughout that entire time and turn it into a word of love? Nah. Nah.
I'm here for it. This is very interesting. It's very interesting.
Like there's no way that person can get away with that.
And I completely agree. I'm here on your level, but I'm gonna keep playing devil's advocate because now I'm thinking, all right, what about our allies that are out there in some of these marches with us that are locked hand in hand that can tell us, yes, I will never understand your experience, but I can empathize with you. You know what I'm saying?
You can't empathize with shit.
No.
You can't empathize with a damn thing.
Just don't use it. There's many other words, but
exactly. I don't give a damn what you've been through. You could have had an entire heroin addiction in Portlandia. I don't give a damn what you've been through, sis.
Come on.
You are not sitting in solidarity with me. You do not have the post-traumatic slave syndrome that I sit with every day. You do not feel that word.
Come on.
And the thing is, one reason why they cannot say that word out of love is because of the way that their mouth is formed to say it.
Come on, get into that.
It's gonna be a little too hard to shift from the ER to the M.
Yes.
So that's gonna be enough for me.
Yes, I love it.
Yes.
I want to move over to scheduled outrage a little bit, right? So now this is something that always fucks me up because I feel like it's been happening at least for the last 3 or 4. I'm going to use Black History Month as an example. I feel like it's been happening for the last 3 or 4 Black History Months, but this past one in general is the one that I'm going to use as an example, right? So, and again, please, chime in, correct me if I'm wrong, this, that, and third. I feel like Black History Month is a time of cultural celebration, recognition of ancestors and the greatness and magic of Black people, a time of education and re-education, and a time of remembering a dark part of American history. But this past Black History gave us very much racist yearbook photos being uncovered from Virginian politicians in blackface, the Jussie Smollett case, surviving
Gucci.
R. Kelly, Gucci, Gigolo Sutin, who's the editor and publisher, calling for the return of the KKK. All these things were being blown up. All these things were being blown up in the media during a time that was supposed to be our time of celebration. And at the same token, you had Colin Kaepernick's settlement being, pushed through. Black Panther was cleaning house at the Oscars. More Black representatives were rising in Congress.
I don't know Colin, they settled?
Exactly, you didn't know.
Back in the NFL?
You didn't know. Look it up. You didn't know. And this is what I'm talking about. They were pushing all this hoopla in our face and making us look like this crazy race again. But actually, around that same exact time, there were lots of good things happening for us, right? So I feel like this is the scheduled outrage. I feel like media has control over our passion and our anger and knows how to push an agenda in order to cover up something bigger or something more positive that might be happening in the world at that exact same time. I was speaking to one of my coworkers, and I don't remember the details on this, but I was speaking to one of my coworkers, and he has kids, and he was like, yeah, you know, like during that whole thing with Kanye and Trump and blah blah blah, he was like, you know, niggas don't even know that they passed the bill where basically I don't even technically own my kids anymore. And I don't know what the fuck he was talking about, and I forgot everything that he told me, but he was basically saying that some bill got passed that basically made children something, this, that, and that. I don't even know. Go look it up. Go look into it.
I'm like, fun.
But
research on that.
Excuse me, where's your research during this segment? Thank you very much.
This is your topic.
But you know, it's like things like that being done so underhandedly while we're focusing on, you know, these two fools at the top, you know. So I want to ask you ladies, if you can remember any examples of scheduled outrage, or if you agree with that example or that definition of it.
Well, let me just start by saying this. Of course, they can schedule outrage because they scheduled your celebration. Like the fact that Black History Month exists.
Come on now.
Like y'all realize that that's the game, right? Like, as long as we can keep you celebrating when we want you to celebrate, that means we can do whatever we want with your celebration.
Go off.
So we gave them that power when we said, okay, Black History Month is something that we're gonna do. If we say, nah, you know, Black History Month,
it's all
first
year.
of all, it's all year.
Okay.
Second of all, during Black History Month, let's do what's real and let's celebrate ourselves by pulling all of our monies out of these corporations and put it back into our communities. If we were actually doing that kind of thing, then there'd be no way for scheduled outrage to make its way into our homes, because then we're not worried about what the media is telling us and what's going on at the top and what's going on in the White House and what's going on here and what's going on there, because we're too focused on building back our communities.
Yes.
Kwame, you have something to say onto the mic.
Yes. What about you, Adaloso?
I disagree with everything. No, because it's just so real and so true. Like, but sometimes it kind of feels like.
Yeah, y'all already know. What? I'm about to kill it, though. Fuck out of here. Let's go. What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? Hey, what's good, everybody? The original, since I starting on these bitches invisible. Everything I do so typical. Ain't you wondering why these chickens are inquisitive? Started off one day, had me saying things the Hispanic girls say. Hating when we call the shit Spanish girls say. Had me thinking they gon' let the Spanish girl wait. Yeah, and I'm just too pretty. Straight up out the womb up in New York City. Long hair, blue eyes, chains on titties. Paved the way for all these washed up biddies. And I'm not the one gonna have you running back when I am done. Fussing on these petty bitches, white Iverson. That's it, girl, I won. You're just the